So we're looking at continuing from last day, and we're doing, there's going to be a question on your test, Kyla, I guarantee it. You with me? There's going to be some kind of a number question, like example, this one here, okay? How many 4-digit numbers can be formed? Soon as we're talking about digits, I like to draw my little Scrabble bag. I got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. How many digits? What kind of a number is this? A what digit number? 4. How many blanks am I going to draw? 4. I'm good at drawing a blank. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many choices do I have for the first digit? Why not 10? Someone said 9. Why not 10? Okay, can't start with a 0. And then I have to ask myself, am I allowed to repeat? Am I putting that tile back in and shaking things up, or is repetition not allowed? What does this one say, Seb? A, what does it say? Repetition is allowed. So I put the tile back in, shake it up. How many choices do I have now? I put the tile back in, shake it up. How many choices do I have now? In fact, I think 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000 times 9. I think I can do this in my head, actually. What is it? 9,000. Okay? You can form 9,000 4-digit numbers. What if you're not allowed to use the same digit twice? What if repetition of digits is not allowed? I'm still going to draw 4 blanks. Okay. When repetition is not allowed, I tend to just make up an example. First of all, how many choices do I have for the first digit still? How many choices do I have? 9. So I'm going to write a 9 here, and I'm going to pretend I got something. Let's say I got the number 8. I'm going to cross it out. That's what I pulled out as an example. And I'm not allowed to put it back in. How many choices do I now have in my Scrabble bag? 9 again. Let's suppose this time I got the number 1. There's my example. And I'm not allowed to put it back in. How many choices do I now have? Let's suppose I picked a 6. How many choices do I now have? 7. I think the answer here is going to be 9 times 9 times 8 times 7. Which is what? 4, 5? 4, 5, 3, 6? I don't know if you remember, but last day, Connor, I said the whole point of this was to count without actually counting. Again, even 4,536, you probably could list all the possibilities. You'd probably miss one or two. Okay? Next page. Sometimes they'll give you some kind of a condition or a restriction. When they give you a condition or a restriction, you always do that condition first, regardless of where it occurs when you draw the blanks. So you may draw the blanks, and Ellen, they may be talking about the last number, or do it first anyways. I'll show you what I mean. Okay? It says, determine the number of distinguishable 4-letter arrangements of the word English. How many letters? How many letter arrangements? Read. How many letter arrangements? How many blanks? 4 blanks. I'm going to draw my Scrabble grab bag over here. I left room. Only in here, I'm going to have a letter E, N, G, L, I, S, and H. Okay? And the first thing it says is it's a 4-letter arrangement, and letters can be repeated. How many choices do I have for the first letter? Count, please. How many choices do I have for the first letter? 7? We're repeating, so now it goes back in. Shake it up. How many choices do I have for the next letter? 7. We're repeating, it goes back in. Shake it up. How many choices do I have for the next letter? 7. And then 7. In fact, really, it's going to be 7 to the 4th as a shortcut, which is what? 2, 4, 2401? Okay. Now let's get a little more interesting. B says, no letters can be repeated, and there are no further restrictions. Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 blanks. Hey, I even got a little Scrabble bag here. This works. Got my Scrabble grab bag. How many choices for the first letter? 7? Put it aside. How many letters are now left in here? Put it aside. How many letters are now left in here? 5? 4. This is 20 times 42, 840. Double check me. Yeah? Okay. Jordan, can you read number 2 to me, please? Okay, now I'm giving you a restriction. How many letters altogether, though?
7.
So, how many letters in the word that we're making? Sorry.
4.
How many blanks?
4.
So we're going to start out with our draw 4 blanks. What's the restriction, Jordan?
It has to be E.
So here's how I'm going to show that. Underneath the first blank, I'm going to put a little letter E there, saying that's what it has to be. And here's the question. Are you ready? How many ways are there to pick an E? How many E's are in the Scrabble bag? I pick that. Boom, gone. Any other restrictions at all? Any other thing? Okay, now I'm picking again. How many letters are left in the Scrabble bag now?
Wait, 7, sorry.
Why 6 and not 7? What have I already pulled out? An E. That's why I said you always do that first. No, it says letters. No letters can be repeated, right? So 6. Then how many letters? 5. Then how many letters? Sean. 20 times 6.
20 times 6.
In your head or on your calculator?
No.
It is 120, I believe, yes? Okay? Guys with me? I'm seeing a lot of chattering going on in the back coach. Unless it's talking math, then I'm okay, but. Third. Colin, can you read to me number 3, please?
The first and last letters must be
Okay, we got to talk here. For the purposes of this unit, the vowels will be A, E, I, O, and U, but never Y. We're just going to decide, just to make our counting easier, Y is never going to be a vowel. We're always going to pretend it's a consonant. And I know there's this, sometimes, we don't want to sometimes, okay? So, how many letters grand total in our word? How many blanks? Draw them. Can you read to me again what the restriction is?
the first and last letters must be vowels.
What are the vowels in our Scrabble bag?
E and I.
So, E and I, E and I. Is that a fairly good way to show that that's the restriction? All right. Colin, how many ways do I have to choose an E or an I? 2. Let's imagine I picked one. And now, this is what I said at the top of the page. You always do the restrictions first. I'm going to skip the next 2 letters. I'm going to jump right to the end. Now that I've picked a vowel, how many ways do I have to pick that last vowel? 1. How many letters have I pulled out of the Scrabble bag grand total so far? How many are left? Then? See it? Colin, in your head, 2 times 5 times 4. This last one is a little trickier. And for some reason I called it number 3. It's really number 4. Oops. Roy, can you read to me this last one? Does it say where the G has to occur? Okay, but the G is going to be one of the letters. Here's how I would represent this. I would say, all right, draw a blank for the G off by itself, and then leave a space and go 1, 2, 3. And I would say, this has to be a G. So far, so good. How many ways, Roy, is there to pick a G? Yeah. How many G's are there in the Scrabble bag? Sorry? 1? We picked it. How many letters are left? Then? Now, that's if G was the first letter. Where else could the letter G appear? More specific. List them. More specific. No. Location. First letter or second letter or okay. Here's what I'm going to say. The G could be there or there or there or there. Do you see by drawing those arrows, I've actually introduced one more choice. How many of those choices, how many of those arrows are there? It's 6 times 5 times 4 to tell you how many ways you can mix up the remaining 3 letters. Times 4, that's how many different locations you can put a G in. Can go first or second or third or fourth. Six times 5 times 4 times 4, that's going to be 30 times 480? Double check me. Yeah? That's a fairly challenging one. Score at the end of a hockey game is Canucks 4, Blackhawks 2. How many different possibilities are there for the score at the end of the second period? Canucks score, Hawks score. 2 blanks. What was your comment, Jordan?
Oh, I said that obviously the Canucks were winning after the end of 2 because if they were losing, they would lose. Because they never come back.
Well, we're going to go hypothetical here because you could also make some comment about Schneider versus Luong or whatever. And you could also say the Hawks have kind of had our number. Whatever. We're just doing this purely theoretically. I did exercise some frustration by allowing the Canucks to win against the Blackhawks. So we'll live with that. What are the possible scores at the end of the second period before the third for the Canucks? How many goals could they possibly have?
4.
What are they? Rattle off the examples.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Why do I disagree? What?
And 0.
And what?
0.
So it's not 4. How many choices is there actually for that first blank? What?
5.
5. Because they could have had 4 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, 1 goals, or no goals. Now, a 4-goal third period is unlikely, but possible. So we're going to say, you know what? There could have been 5 choices there. And if you want to, you can put underneath here 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. How many possibilities, how many choices are there for the number of goals for the Blackhawks at the end of the second period? Why 3? Answer? 15. 15. get a little tougher. It's all coming back, though, Kyla, to that fundamental counting principle, to drawing blanks, to visualizing the little Scrabble bag of tiles. And if they give you a bizarre restriction, we're going to try and do it first. Even if it's the last digit, we're still going to do it first. Because it doesn't, the order that we do the selecting and doesn't affect things. Okay. Consider the digits 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9. Justin, can you read to me A, please, my friend?
If repetitions are not permitted, how many different three-digit numbers can be formed?
How many digit numbers?
3.
How many blanks?
3.
Justin, my friend, how many choices do I have for the first digit?
6.
Yep. No zeros in there, right? So I don't have to eliminate the 0. 6. Repetitions are not permitted, so whatever I pick, I don't put back in. How many choices now?
5.
Then?
4.
120 again, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's get a little tougher. Jake, can you read to me the first one, B? How many of these are? Read to me number 1. Sorry, what?
Less than 400.
How many digits grand total? How many blanks?
6.
No.
Oh, blank, sorry,
3. Draw 3 blanks. What's the condition that they gave us? What's the restriction?
Less than 400.
How can this be less than 400? What would make it less than 400? Can I start with a 6? Can I start with a 7? Oh. What do I have to start with from my Scrabble bag? What are my options? 2 and 3? Will anything else work there? Not if I want to be less than 400. How many choices?
2.
I picked one of them. Are there any other restrictions?
No repetitions.
Okay, so any other restrictions though?
No.
Okay, I picked one of them. How many are left in the Scrabble bag?
5.
Then?
4.
Without a calculator, put your calculator down. What's 2 times 5 in your head, please?
10.
Times 4?
40.
By the way, Jake, can you go back to the previous question? How many 3-digit numbers were there without repetition, grand total?
120.
How many are less than 400?
40.
How many are bigger than 400? 80. Gotta be, right? I mean, that's all that's left. So sometimes you'll have also found the opposite by subtracting. Erica's done yawning. Can you read to me the second one, Erica, my child? What's our second condition here? How many of these are? Even. How many blanks am I going to draw? Shh. How many blanks am I going to draw? 3. Let's draw 3 blanks. All right. What makes a number even? Rachel. First of all, for any number, what can they end in to make them even? 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Now, I don't have all of those numbers to pick from. Based on my Scrabble bag, what are my options for it ending to be? Even means 2 or 6. Rachel, how many choices do I have for that then? And I'll do that first, even though it's at the end, I don't care. I'm going to take care of that restriction first. I've pulled out an even number. I've stuck it there. How many choices are left now for the first number? Then? Hey, it turns out there's, Jake, can you go 5 times 4 times 2 in your head, please?
40.
Turns out there's also 40 even numbers. Just a fluke, but okay. Yep.
Or does it matter what you put?
Yeah, it's huge. Read me the condition. What does it say, Christina? Has to be what? Guys, stop talking, please. By the way, I'm battling a lot of chatter, and I needed to stop. Thank you. Sorry?
No, I just.
It's got to be even, right? So for it to be even, it has to end in an even number, which is 0, 2, 4, 6, or... Oh, really, from here, it's only 2 or 6 are my only options. So that's why I wrote E for even. It's got to be a 2 or 6. Okay? And even though it's at the end, I do that first. I take care of any weird restriction first, no matter where it occurs. Odd. By the way, I'm pretty sure the answer for odd is going to be, there's 120 grand total, 40 of them are even, I think 80 of them are odd. I could get there by just intuitively subtracting, but let's prove it. How many blanks am I going to draw? 3. I want it to be odd, which really means I can have a what? A 3, a 5, a 7, or a 9 on the end, right? Which I'm pretty sure is 4 choices for that number. Okay, I stuck an odd number there. I pulled it out of the Scrabble bag. How many are left? 6? 5. Then 4. Is 5 times 4 times 4 80, which I kind of hoped it was? It is. Okay. Christina, joy of my heart, can you read to me the 4th one? Draw 3 blanks. If you're a multiple of 5, if you know that 5 goes into a number, how do you know that 5 goes into a number? Ends in a 5 or a 0. Oh, do we have a 0 to pick from in our Scrabble bag, Christina? Do we have a 0 to pick from in our Scrabble bag? Then the only way that this number can be a multiple of 5 is it must end in a 5. There has to be a 5 there. How many 5s are there in the Scrabble bag? I picked it. How many are left? Then? Looks like 20 of them are multiples of 5. By the way, what if instead of repetition not being allowed, what if repetition was allowed? What if we put the number back in? It would still be 1 5, but then you would have 6 numbers, 6 numbers. Right? Or over here, if it has to be odd, it would still be 4 odd numbers, but then it would be 6 numbers, 6 numbers. Without repetition is a bit more interesting because you got to do some subtracting along the way. So I'll usually give you that. Okay? This is where it gets a bit tricky. Consider a 6-digit numeral. Okay. Did they give me a list of numbers to pick from? Nope. My Scrabble bag is going to have a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. Cool. How many digits are we creating? How many digit numerals are we creating?
6.
How many blanks am I drawing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cole, is repetition allowed, or are we throwing the letters away, the numbers away after we pull them out? Okay, how many choices for the first digit? Careful.
10.
Not 10. Why not 10? You're going to say it because I want you to reinforce it. What did she say?
9.
Why?
You can't have 0
When?
in the first spot.
Okay, we don't start with a 0. So you ready? Scene 1, act 1, take 2. How many do I have for the first one? You know what? A good way for us to remember that, underneath here, write a 0 and put a slash through it. And then you'll know no 0. 9. How many choices for the next one? And it ain't 8. How many choices for the next one? Okay, why is it 9? First of all, is the 0 back in play for the second one? Yes, but we've thrown one number away. So we had 10, we've thrown one away, 0 is back, so 9. Throw another number away. Then, this one might be a bit trickier to do in your head. It's going to be 81 times 30 times 56. 81 times 30 is going to be 2,700. No, 200. Yeah, 2,700 times 56. I don't know. What do you get?
136,000.
Read me the digits.
136,080.
Okay. You okay with why it's 9, 9, then 8, then 7, then 6, right? The first 9 is because we ignore the 0. The second 9 is the 0's back in play, but we've tossed one number out. Okay. Now let's get a little trickier. Caitlin, can you read B to me, kiddo?
How many odd 6-digit numbers?
How many digit numeral? How many blanks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What makes a number odd? How do you know a number is odd? How can you glance at a number and say that's an odd number? Come on, you guys have picked this one up somewhere in your math career.
Is it 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9?
What about 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9?
For all numbers, so it has to end.
Okay. Did you hear Tiffany? She said it's got to end in to be an odd number, all you have to do is end in an odd number. And what are the odd numbers? 1, 3.
5, 7, 9.
So let's write down here. Has to be odd. Even though that's at the very end, it's a restriction, I'm going to do it first. How many choices for that last one? How many choices? I picked 3, let's imagine. How many choices now for the first digit? Careful.
8.
Ooh, why 8? Why not 9?
Because you already picked one, and you can have.
Okay, I still can't start with 0, so that's eliminated. And I've already picked one. So if I look at my Scrabble bag, use my imagination, and if I cover up the 0 and I cover up the 3, you're right, I only got 8 choices left. Yo.
You put the it at the very end.
Sorry?
Why are you putting it at the very end?
Well, that's what makes an odd. An odd number is only odd if it ends in an odd number, right? This is not, look up. That's not an odd number, that's an even number. It begins with an odd number, it doesn't end. Now it's an odd number. For an odd number to be odd, it has to end in an odd number. Is that okay? Jordan, what did you say for the first digit? How many choices?
8.
Okay, yeah, it would normally be, we can't use a 0, and we've already used one digit up, so that leaves 8. How many choices for the second digit? Careful. 8, why 8 again? Oh, is the 0 back in play? So even though we've chucked a number, the 0 is back in play. Now how many choices?
7. 6. 5.
You'll notice there will come a point where it just finally does start going down by ones, but you got to deal with the weird stuff first. That's why I say do the restrictions, do the conditions first, then tackle the other ones. Whatever 8 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 5 is. Oh, and it better be less than 136,080. 57, 67200? Is that what you said? Is it anybody else? Jake, you got the same thing? You lying? Oh, okay. C. What did I write in brackets next to C? Y. Rosanna, can you read to me C, please, after it says nasty?
Allowing even six-digit numbers have no twin digits.
We'll try it again. Shh, you guys are just chatty humans today. Read it again, please.
Only even six-digit numerals have no twin digits.
What kind of numerals are we talking about? Even. What makes a number even? What can it end in to make it an even number? Well, can't end in a 10 exactly. Sorry, what? This is important.
2, 4, 6, 8,
Or what?
4, 0.
0. What was that last one, This is important. What was that last one Rosanna said? Here's why this is tough. 0 is part of two restrictions in this question. For it to be even, it can end in a 0. But what can't it start with? 0. The fact that 0 is important twice makes this one nasty because we're actually going to have to separate the two cases. Let me say that again. The fact that here 0 can be at the end and can't be at the front, the fact that I have to think about it twice, what it really means is I have to treat it as two separate cases. I'm going to look at all of the even numbers that don't end in 0, all of the even numbers that do end in 0, and then add them up. And add them up. I'm going to look at, try that again. Don't end in 0. Do end in 0. Still going to draw 6 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rosanna, what was the restriction? Can you read it to me again? How many what?
Have no repeating
You missed the key phrase. How many what?
numerals.
You're missing the key phrase, the underlined bold-faced, the restriction. How many what? Even. What makes a number even?
Oh. 2, 4, 6, 8.
Where?
0.
Where?
As n.
Okay, but we're just going to, in this case, look at 2 or 4 or 6 or 8. Why do we have to do this? Because it can't begin with a 0, and we want it to sometimes end with a 0. The fact that 0 appears in two different restrictions, I've got to look at them separately. How many ways can I end in 2, 4, 6, or 8? How many ways can I end in 2, 4, 6, or 8? Okay. Let's say I pulled a 6 out, stuck it there. How many do I have left for the beginning? Careful. Why 8 and not 9? Okay. How many do I have for the second one? 8 again, because now 0 is back in play. Then what do we get here? What is 8 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4? What, someone's phone went off? I didn't hear that.
I heard it.
Can I get an answer here? Read me the digits, please, Christina.
5, 3, 7, 6, 0.
53,760?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have to look at ending in 0. Ends in a 0. How many ways can I end in a 0? It's meant to be really obvious. 1. How many choices do I have for the first digit now? Careful. Why 9 and not 8? Zero's out of play now. I've already pulled the 0 out of the Scrabble bag. How many left for the second number? Then? Nine times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5. 15 and 120? Total is going to be 53,760 plus 15,120. How many even numbers are there? 68, 880. Is that right, Ellen? I think, yes? Now let me say this again because there was a lot of chatter and people are zoning out and giggling. Why did I have to separate these? The reason I had to separate these is when I thought about the conditions that they gave me, the fact that it's an even number means it can end in a 0, but I already know that it can't start with a 0, and Kyla, the fact that I said 0 twice means it's part of 2 different restrictions. I better look at the case where it ends in a 0 separate as where it doesn't end in a 0. And the reason was, did you notice, Jordan? As soon as I ended in a 0, this first number became a 9, where everywhere else it had been an 8. There's another way I could have done this. Get your calculators out, if you haven't already. The quicker way would have been as follows. How many numbers were there grand total that we could form? 136,080. Can you type that into your calculator? 136,080. How many of them are odd? 67. How can that, if I know the total numbers and I know how many are odd, how can I use those two to figure out how many are even? I think if I just subtract them, whatever's left is even, because you're either odd or you're even. You're one or the other. So if you go 136,080, take away 67200, please tell me, do you get 68880? I hope. We do? That's how I would check my answer. In fact, you know what? I would probably choose to do it that way first and then try this longer, convoluted method. What are the keys here for the fundamental counting principle? Draw blanks for each choice. Multiply along the way for the number of choices. Oh, and if they're having you pick from a group, use that little Scrabble bag. I find it really helpful. It takes 1 second to sketch. In fact, often you saw, sometimes I would even cross off letters or numbers along the way as a way to keep track of what was going on. What's your homework? So from page 235, number 1B, 2, 15 to 16, they go quick, I hope, 19 and 20. And then I said, try these ones as well. These are meant to be nastier. I did include the answers. These are all with weird restrictions, with weird situations. These are, I'm only going to put 1, maybe 2 like this on your test, not 15 or 20. But if you get these, you're in pretty good shape. This is from the old Principles of Math 12 Advanced Curriculum. I'm sneaking some in here because they're nerdly cool. So textbook homework right there. And then once I would do the textbook first, then I would try these nastier ones. You got 25 minutes, lots of time.